Imagine walking through the tall golden gates of Versailles and you head into the courtyard. The floor is filled with black and white squares. You walk up the steps surrounded by other people also clad in their finest 18th century clothing. The excitement is tangible. There are panniers and silk and glittering jewels as far as the eye can see. You enter the palace upstairs of marble and walk into the hall of mirrors. The room glitters with candles and catches the light in the antique mirrors. There's Baroque music played by a live quartet, and you spend the evening drinking champagne and dancing. It's utterly magical. This is not just a fantasy. This can, in fact, be a reality today. So hi, I'm Sostine and I'm here to tell you all about it. Versailles holds a historical ball once a year on the last Monday of each May. It's called Fetes Galantes and it's real. They also hold a fantasy one later in the summer in the gardens. I'm here to talk to you about the one held in the palace itself. This year, it's going to be May 22nd and this girl has 2 thumbs and 2 tickets for herself and her husband. In today's video, I'll talk to you about the ball, what it is, how to get tickets, as well as some tips I have about the ball itself. Finally, I'll show you this year's plans for the ball and what I'm making for and what I plan on wearing and what I plan on having my husband wear. I first heard about this ball back in 2015, 2016. I was still a resident and I'd long had an obsession with Versailles. After all, it's generally considered to be the palace that other palaces aspired to be back in the 18th century. I also want to add, as someone who's been to at least, oh my God, so many balls at this point, this one is always going to be my favorite, I think. The moment where you walk in, it is the most ethereal and transporting moment. It almost feels dreamlike, to be honest. Now, before I get into talking about the ball, let's just talk about dreams in general, which leads us to today's sponsor, Birch Living. Birch Living is a mattress in a box company that specializes in making organic, 100% non-toxic mattresses made right here in the United States that are super comfortable and give great support. Moreover, they do so using reliably sourced and sustainable materials such as organic cashmere, organic New Zealand wool, fair trade cotton, and 100% natural latex. While I've been using their mattress for the past year and have loved it, I'm proud to discuss the new Birch Kids line featuring mattresses made of the same natural and wonderful materials that they use for the adults, but specifically designed to grow with your kids and their special needs as they get older and get bigger. Now, Malcolm has outgrown his adorable pirate bed and mattress he's had since he was born, so we decided it was time for him to go into his first real new mattress. The new Birch Kids mattress is double-sided, with one side being firmer for the extra support kids need as they grow, with a softer size for older kids who might want a softer feel rather than more back support. So this particular mattress is designed to grow with your child through their entire childhood, which also helps the environment by decreasing waste. But not only is this mattress made of all natural and responsibly sourced materials that didn't harm the environment in their production, I'm always surprised at how comfortable it is. It's genuinely so comfortable, breathable, and cozy that I'm tempted to sleep in his bed. In fact, he had to kick me out several times after story time.
Get up, Mama!
Is this your bed?
Yeah!
Though luckily, I have my own in my Art Nouveau bedroom. If you have concerns about mattress longevity or satisfaction, I would like to add that with your Birch mattress, you get a 100-night sleep trial along with a 25-year warranty. Malcolm has been sleeping on his mattress now for 2 weeks, and he and I both love our Birch Kids natural mattress, and I think you will too. If you're looking for a new natural non-toxic mattress for your little one, check out Birch. You can click the link below and get 20% off your mattress plus 2 free pillows. Thank you to Birch Living for sponsoring this video and my future trip to Versailles. So back to Fetes Galantes. First off, what is it? It's a ball at Versailles, held once a year, pandemic notwithstanding. This ball has been going on since 2014 and typically is the last or second to last Monday of the year. Typically, the palace is closed to visitors on Monday, so it makes special sense that they'd hold the ball on this day. For those of you who have been to Versailles before, you'll know that it's incredibly crowded. We're talking 30,000 people going through those golden gates on any typical day. For Fetes Galantes, we're talking hundreds of people versus thousands of people there for the whole ball. So the whole palace does not feel especially crowded at all, and it gives everyone a chance to move around better and really explore and see the palace the way it's meant to be. For those of you who know Versailles even better, you'll know that typically no costumes are allowed at Versailles. So this is a truly unique chance that you'll have to actually go to Versailles in costume, which of course is why I was so absolutely desperate to go, even before I could afford tickets. My first year there was actually in 2017. I had just finished medical residency about 11 months before and was absolutely desperate to get to go. In fact, one of my very first paychecks went to buying these tickets. For years, I've been looking at blogs of people who had went with envy. I was so enthused about making my first robe à la française, and I was also really happy to make my husband the first of his many court suits, all stitched out and embroidered on a 1-needle embroidery machine, with me changing the thread color every 30 seconds to every 8 minutes, for a total of over 1,000 thread changes over the life of that one court suit. While I now look at this court suit and wince at the mistakes, I leave this painting up in my foyer because it reminds me of the absolutely splendid time that I had there. One question I get asked all the time is, does everybody have to make their own costumes? And the answer is absolutely not. Honestly, I think that less than 10% make their own costumes. Most actually do buy or rent, and there are some truly fabulous makers on Etsy and on the internet if you care to look. You can also rent the gowns, and I think most people do exactly that. The website even lists a bunch of places where you can rent your gowns. And now if you look at the Fetes Galantes website run by Chateau de Versailles, you'll notice they have a dress code. It's relatively vague in terms of time period. The website actually says, to preserve the magic of Fetes Galantes, you must come dressed in a quality Baroque style costume and be wearing it when you arrive at the palace. All guests must find their own costumes. No access will be granted to anyone for not respecting the appropriate dress code. Now, generally speaking, Baroque extends from the early 1600s to the 1750s. After that, it's Rococo, and considering it's Versailles, I think it really needs a year that Versailles was actually active. So let's take a minute to talk about the history of Versailles. First off, Versailles is not in Paris itself, but is conveniently located 12 miles outside of it. It was originally built in 1623 as a beloved hunting lodge of King Louis XIII, the often forgotten father of the Sun King, aka King Louis XIV. Of course, the Sun King was the one who turned it into the splendid palace it is now. He moved into it in the 1680s, so generally speaking, when I think of Versailles fashion, I think of 1680s to 1789, the year when King Louis XVI and his queen, the famous Marie Antoinette, were forced to leave. And this, of course, spans a very wide area of time, from the distinct mantuas of the 17th century to the robe volants of the mid-1700s to, of course, my favorite, the robe à la française of the mid to late 1700s. This time period even includes the chemise à la reine, the famed dress named after Queen Marie Antoinette, obviously to mock her, but named after her nonetheless. I don't think I've seen many chemise à la reines there. So both times that I went there, I found that most people actually went for the robe à la française or the robe à la anglaise with the big hair. But I did see a few Renaissance dresses and dresses that were definitely not in the right time period, but they were still there and they were definitely allowed in and not turned away. So I don't see them being too exclusive with it, which I personally found to be quite a relief. I honestly didn't have the heart to imagine how sad it would be to be turned away at the golden gates of Versailles for not having a high quality enough costume. Like, it would literally be gatekeeping. I can't even imagine. So there's that. Now, what do you do there? There's a bunch of different activities that you can do. Namely, there's listening to music in the chapel, there's dancing lessons, and then there's tours through some of the rooms that you wouldn't normally get to see, like the King's Chambers, the Queen's Chamber, the Mesdames Chambers, the Madame du Pompadour Suite, which I still have to get tickets to someday. And your ticket includes a time to go to these different activities. But oftentimes, most people don't choose to go to any of these and instead choose to mingle and meet with their people. I mean, these are in fact our people. These are costume lovers, all of them. In fact, I met one of my very good friends, time traveling redhead, on one of these trips. And finally, after a night of fun and activities around midnight, everyone is encouraged to go to the windows of the Hall of Mirrors or step outside to watch the fireworks over Versailles. It's utterly magical. There is also food, but that's in a separate area from the Hall of Mirrors. So when I said drinking champagne in the Hall of Mirrors, I don't quite literally mean that, because you're not allowed to have champagne or any drinks there, but you can get tipsy in costume and then go back to the Hall of Mirrors. But there is a wing of bite-sized food that starts as main courses in the early evening and goes to desserts later on at night. Honestly, in 2017 and 2018, the food was amazing, so highly recommended that you get the Duke and Duchess's tickets or above. Speaking of tickets and levels, let's talk about the ticket tiers and how to get the tickets. First off, you don't need an invitation to go. I didn't get to go because I was a YouTuber or anything. I wasn't even a YouTuber back then. You just have to go bookmark the Fetes Galantes website, I've also linked it below, and buy tickets when they open up in September. I highly recommend getting there early, since the higher tier tickets, like the King and Queen and the Doge levels, sell out really fast. In fact, I was unable to get either one of those this year, even though I really want to see what the special surprise was. And I'll talk about that later. The tickets themselves are priced accordingly. These are the 2023 prices, by the way. So if you're watching in the way future and it makes you sad because inflation is a thing, I do apologize. The bottom tier is the Marquis and Marquises, and that starts at 170 to 190 euros. This one does come with set activities, but please note you don't get access to the food or drinks. There is a cash bar there, but in 2018, I did feel bad for all the people who are waiting on an incredibly long line. There is a water fountain downstairs if you don't mind using one of those. The second tier is the Duke and Duchesses, and this is the tier I went in at. These start at 330 to 350 euros, and I highly recommend it. Definitely the best bang for your buck. These come with unlimited champagne and food and easy access to water, which honestly is definitely worth it since you will get very dehydrated in the very hot Versailles. The tier on top of that is Kings and Queens. They have their own sitting area and they get to come in a little earlier through a separate entrance, which I hear is stunning. This is significantly more expensive at 495 euros per ticket. This tier is definitely worth it if you need to sit, since they have their own dining area with little tables that you can sit at, and I think this is really the only place where you can be guaranteed seat. The Doge level is of course the highest and the most exclusive. Last I heard there were only 35 of these tickets available, and this gets you entrance into any of the activities when you want. There's also a special surprise associated with it, which I still have no idea what it is. No one will tell me, so if you do know, please let me know in the comments. Of course, this is also way more expensive as well. There are places on Facebook where you can go and try to buy tickets off of each other, but please be careful. A lot of ticket sellers will ask for a direct wire transfer since this is an international sale, and several people lost out on thousands of dollars from con artists. One of these con artists actually even approached me trying to sell me on 2 Doge level tickets, and I nearly fell for it. So it is convincing. Be careful. As for the ball itself, it's magnificent. I personally have been there twice, as I said. The first is when I was a burgeoning costumer in 2017. While I had been making costumes for years, it was as a medical student and a resident, and I had very little time to focus on costume making, so I felt like my skills really didn't have a chance to improve until after residency. So this is what I wore. I'm particularly proud of my husband's court suit, honestly, though I do want to add that I was not able to digitize at that. I didn't actually know how. And so this was digitized for me by Cabot Creative and then stitched out by me. I had such a great time making it. And that what leads to hint number 1. Stay at Versailles. The first time I went, I had planned to take a cab from Paris to Versailles for the ball. While I had given myself a full hour to get into Versailles, there was a surprise visit to Versailles by Putin that day, so the roads were absolutely jam-packed, and we arrived at the ball 45 minutes after it started, and I was honestly nearly in tears. I highly recommend Hotel Les Versailles, which is quite affordable and is literally across the street, so definitely an easy walk. Tip number 2. Bring a fan. Oh goodness, France can get very warm in late May, and Versailles as well. While they do have some air conditioning, it's very limited. Moreover, silk, I assume you will wear silk since most people do. It does not breathe. In 2018 when I went, I was 9 weeks pregnant with my son, and I was so overwhelmed and had such severe morning sickness that I had to leave early and go back to the hotel after about an hour and a half. It was worth it for a healthy baby, and I can definitely say that Malcolm was at Versailles as a wee fetus. But bring a fan. Either a battery operated one or a folding one will do, but you will need one. I highly recommend not bringing an antique fan that you're going to be fearful of moving briskly or may snap if you fan yourself too hard. It will get hot in there and you will love having it on you. I'm talking high 90 degrees inside. 3. Keep your ticket close. While you may or may not decide to actually do your activities, every time you want to go, they're going to want to double check your ticket before they let you in anywhere. So make sure that you have a pocket somewhere on your person and to keep it close at all times. 4. Hydrate. Champagne is delicious, but it is also dehydrant, so please remember to keep going back and having water as well. Because my husband literally gets a sinus infection whenever he doesn't hydrate enough, and he got one the first year. 5. Have pockets. Ladies and gents, this means definitely make sure you have one of those pockets or something like it under your gowns. I have always made sure to put giant pockets on Matt's coats for the same reason, so definitely keep your pockets close and don't choose any gown without one. Or use pocket panniers, but seriously, have pockets. 6. Buy tickets early. I kind of went into it a little before. The ball is getting more and more popular every year, and especially the ones with the more desirable events like the chapel and dancing lessons. Those sell out immediately, so please go buy it fast. You can follow along on the Facebook page to get information faster. So those are my tips. Let's take a quick peek into my sewing room and I'll show you my plans for this year. I really contemplated making a court suit to wear for the ball. In fact, I had been working on that purple court suit for Jeff the accountant, but I really just have to live my best ball life, and I honestly just feel prettier in dresses. You'll notice I'm wearing one by Linen Naive today. So I chose to use the gorgeous gold Scalamandre fabric I bought at a huge discount a few years back when it got retired, and I'm going to be making a robe a la Francaise using the pattern from JP Ryan merged with the pleating instructions from Janet Arnold's Patterns of Fashion 1. Meanwhile, I'm also making my husband a new court suit. I'm starting to realize I might have bitten off more than I can chew, since each front panel is 17 repetitions and I need 2 front panels, 2 back panels, a collar, 2 pockets, and 4 sleeve panels, along with about 36 buttons, not counting actually putting it together. So I don't know if it's going to happen in time. The original embroidery design is based on one in the collection of the Hermitage. I actually spent about 30 to 40 hours over the past 2 years digitizing the design. It's so complex, like figuring out how to make the feathers on the bird, doing multiple samples and all the different parts of the design. It took months and months to make this, but I love the design and I'm really excited to see this come to fruition as Matt's court suit. So I'll give it a shot and see how far I get into it without driving myself insane. But it would be really nice to see this at Versailles. That's the plan. I'm excited to go to Fetes Galantes this year. And if you've ever been or are going this year, please let me know in the comments so I can look for you. If you know of another similar event and want to share it with me, please let me know. I would love to go. Just curious, which era and style of dress would you want to wear? This ball is, again, on May 22nd. So the video of the ball itself will be coming out in June. Please remember to subscribe so you can see what I've made and see me wearing it at actual Versailles this year. Thanks for watching.